Shh.
Is it here?
Not far from here.
Where?
Not far from here. Or so some people say. Across Hickory Road in the great mist of way, in a place, a true place very much like our own, was the town where I lived until I was grown. It was a place of rare beauty and remarkable things, of winters and summers and autumns and springs, of towering mountains, and in the valley between lay a town that was wholesome and honest and clean, with doctors and lawyers and shopkeepers who all enjoyed what it was that they had to do.
You take pleasure in working and getting things done. Then you dance and you sing when the work is done.
And so the town prospered, for life wasn't hard until they found ooze in old Nickaby's yard. Now, old Nickaby's farm was a place, you might say, where people would gather to talk and to play. Near the pond by the meadow on that high piece of ground, to the right of the oak tree, is where ooze was first found by some kids. They had gone to the pond for a swim, and the boy who first saw it stuck his big toe right in.
Hey, what's this stuff?
He wondered as he poked with his toe, and he laughed right out loud, for it tickled him so. And suddenly he knew he had to touch it again. And he laughed and he chuckled and he called for a friend.
Come here. Hey, what have you there?
His friend came to see.
I don't know what it is, but it feels good to me.
Up from a chasm, perhaps miles below, fluffy and light, the color of snow, gurgling and bubbling, it made its own sound. As it spread, it created a pool on the ground. And the two boys, now in it up to their chin, couldn't stop laughing, for it tickled their skin. It made them so happy and their heads felt so light. They continued to frolic until it was night. Within a week of that day, there wasn't a kid in town who didn't know ooze made a bubbling sound, or a kid who hadn't told several lies about being an ooze right up to his eyes. Within a month of that day, their parents all knew, and down to old Nickaby's pond they all drew. In silence, they stood without saying a word.
It's not what I thought. And it may seem absurd,
Said Officer O'Toole, who was never too hasty.
but to be quite honest, it looks rather tasty.
And before they could grab him or take him about, he tasted the ooze and jumped in with a shout.
Yippee! Don't be afraid.
Said O'Toole.
You've nothing to fear. I've tasted the stuff. It's the best kind of cheer.
And with jumps and with kicks and with hoots and with hollers, he declared with a start,
It's worth $10 billion.
what happened that night is not easy to say. For most of the town got carried away. Surprised and delighted by O'Toole's sudden news, they too jumped in and got lost in the ooze. And night after night, from darkness till dawn, down to old Nickaby's pond they were drawn, neglecting all else and sleeping all day. Within weeks, the town showed signs of decay. As things became broken, they were never repaired. The town needed cleaning, but nobody cared. Except for John Tuttle, who had come back to town. He had left years before just to wander around, and while he was gone, he would dream about home, of his friends, of his family, of the things he had known. But upon his return, he was smitten with blues to find all his friends so lost in the ooze.
Get on with your lives. You've got to stop what you're doing. This ooze is no good. It's not worth pursuing.
But his friends didn't listen. They were not even nice. And only Bob Applebaum offered advice.
Now listen, my friend. I don't mean to doubt you, but while you were gone, we did nicely without you. A factory, a warehouse. We'll build it right here. We'll bottle the stuff. It's the best kind of cheer. There are those.
He said slyly, as if telling a secret.
They don't want to sell it. They just want to keep it. Don't worry about town. It's not a big thing. Come frolic, come play. We'll sell ooze in the spring.
But the things he was saying fell upon deaf ears. For just seeing his friends full tunnel with fears. Ooze had taken the spirit right out of the town, and if he didn't do something, it would bring them all down. But what could he do? He was only one man. Still, he would go to the mountains and consider a plan. The trails that he followed, he had known as a boy. And the sweet-smelling forest filled Tuttle with joy. And he climbed until he could see the town far below and the farm Nickleby. He brooded for hours in search of an answer, for he knew that ooze was the worst kind of cancer that spread from within and captured the soul and took the essence that made real people whole. And there high above him, as if casually thrown, was an answer he searched for in one giant stone, so huge and so vast, a rock so ready to roll, and all that he needed was some kind of pole, and he pried and he shoved and he pushed with his shoulder, and as if by magic he moved that incredible boulder that rushed down the mountain with a gathering force directly toward ooze, for ooze was its course. Rumbling and thundering, it finally came down exactly where ooze came up from the ground. But no one thanked Tuttle. And some laid him the blame. They said losing ooze was a god-awful shame.
If we want it,
they said,
and there's no doubt about it, you're gonna live with the ooze.
Or live nicely without it.
But as weeks passed by, people drifted away in hopes that maybe, just maybe, one day they might once again hear that gurgling sound or see ooze bubbling up from the ground. And the town, it finally rotted and fell to decay. The people all scattered in lands far away. The moral, I guess, concerning this ooze is whatever you do, you must never abuse either that which is good or that which is bad. May start you a habit you wish you never had. So if by chance you happen to see any ooze hereabouts, well, just let it be. I see by your smile you doubt what I say. You think if you had ooze, you'd be okay. Well, there's nothing to prove. What I tell you is true. Once you have ooze, it's ooze that has you.